Good morning, Intrepid Impact listeners. I'm Jerry Howard. I'm your host here at the Intrepid Impact Leadership Broadcast, ESPN Richmond Radio 106.1. We're so glad that you're tuning in this morning. And today we've got an exciting show. We're going to cover a couple of things, but first, let me just say thank you for tuning in. I met some folks who've been listening recently, and it's so gratifying to hear that the information shared here is valuable to people, and that also is making an impact, and at the very least, just making you think. My goal is always to help you operate with an intrepid impact in every aspect of your lives. So again, 106.1 ESPN Richmond Radio. This is the place to be, Mondays, 6:30 a.m. And here we're talking about leadership. We're talking about business, a little faith mixed in there too, and some nuggets of knowledge that can help you both in your weekly walk, daily walk, and perhaps strategize for the future. And if you're a small business owner, this is extremely important too, because a lot of the information you're hearing on here it costs thousands of dollars, right? So when a company hires my agency, the Intrepid Impact team, we're usually working in all facets of their organization. So the great thing about being a small business owner is, of course, you get to write your own ticket, but at the same time, there's always fiscal constraints. So tuning in here is going to help you all along the way. And we've got some great shows coming up. But if you weren't here last week, just know that we started with what's called the 3 rules of business. And the 3 rules of business help guide you in making strategic decision-making about why to go into business and how to operate your business and what to think about when you're in business. And I always recommend to my clients, take 4 hours per week and devote it to thinking about your business, not working in your business. And the 3 rules of business are a great way to start that very thing. So to recap last week, the first rule of business was don't go into business unless you're going to make money. And you might have recalled me saying that 50% of businesses, small businesses, new businesses, business ventures end abruptly, probably not by choice, within 2 years. Within 2 years, another statistic for you, 90% of small businesses go out of business within 5 years. So in 5 years, you have a 90% chance of failing. So why on earth would we embark on this journey? I can tell you right now, it's because we have an entrepreneurial spirit. And honestly, even if you're not an entrepreneur, today's statistics with employment tell us that you probably won't be in the same job in 5 years. So if you look at your job as your entrepreneurial journey, as the way that you make an intrepid impact to any organization, if you own your job description and own your role as your small business, just imagine the possibilities. And we all have constraints, even as small business owners. We have constraints like the law, right? So that's part of the 3 rules of business, is understanding that if your business helps people, it's a good business. That's our second rule of business. Another constraint is be smarter than the crook or bad person and honest with good people, right? Be smarter than the crook and honest with good people. What does that mean? That means do fair dealing, right? And we have laws that hold you to that. But the 3 rules of business can keep you on track on a daily basis and help make sure you don't veer off into a gray area of ethics, because that's one of the things that's going to put companies out of business, whether it's in 5 years or whether it's in 25 years. You're going to go down like a flaming rocket if you don't adhere to a standard of ethics. And usually we have a mission, we have a vision, we have values. All of those things contribute to making good daily decisions about what you stand for and who you are, what your client is, what you're trying to achieve. Why would you start your business? Well, I think that the reason why so many people launch into this venture, but then 90% of them don't exist in 5 years, is because of that very nuance, is they don't have those standards of operation. And again, it starts with the first rule of business. Don't go into business unless you're going to make money. right? And the metaphor I gave you last week was about the Pokemon cards. So my youngest son is now involved in Pokemon cards, and he's learning that very nuance. He's learning, hey, how should I trade cards with someone else? And the key is a win-win scenario. If you can create a winning scenario between you and your client, then you're going to probably stay in business, right? So when you begin your business planning, you want to start with the first rule of business. Don't go into business unless you're going to make money. How are you going to make money? That's the question. How much money can you make doing what you want to do? How much money can you make doing what you want to do? Once you have that number, let's say you break it down into just 8 hours a day. You know, most entrepreneurs, even business people, even people that have jobs work more than 8 hours a day. And here's what I would offer you. How much headspace do you put into your business? Now, if you're an entrepreneur, you're probably thinking about your business while you're asleep. If you're an employee, you might not be thinking about it that much, but I guarantee you're thinking about it as you prepare for work in the morning and as you digress away in the evening. And being able to maximize the amount of headspace you give your job or your business throughout those normal hours of working every day, but also being able to unplug is going to help you. And again, that's why we want to devote 4 hours a week as a business owner to thinking about how to work on your business. Now, again, if you're an employee, this is applicable to you. You can devote 4 hours a week to making sure that you're maximizing your input into that organization to which you belong. Maximizing your input to which that organization you belong. Why would you want to do that? Well, Napoleon Hill says in Think and Grow Rich, go the extra mile. Why on earth would you want to go the extra mile when boss man only pays me enough to get the job done? Well, if boss man sees that you're capable of more than he's paying you for, he might be inclined to offer you more. Here's the other cool thing. Every job, in America at least, every job is an agreement between two parties. And when you perform for an employer, you are essentially the business owner and your employer is the client. Why? Because they pay you. Okay. But if you can deliver more value than what they're outputting, then you have leverage. So if there's a promotion coming up, if there's a new job opportunity, then you have leverage. You say, hey, I'm qualified for this job because not only have I been doing my job, but I've been doing these extra things. And it was my pleasure to do them. But I think that's the reason why it qualifies me for this new position or moving on to another company. Now you can say, hey, while I was in this role as, say, an associate, I was actually doing managerial tasks. That's the reason why I'm prepared for this managerial position. And take notes. One of the things that I do with my employees is I have them do a self-evaluation. Why? Because I want them to brag. I want them to tell me, what have you done in the last 12 months? I don't like doing annual evals annually. I think we should do it more regularly. But at the end of the day, annual raises are something we do offer. And I always encourage them, hey, take this opportunity to tell me how awesome you are, because I'll remember what you did 2 months ago, but probably not what you did 9 months ago. So again, you can operate in your job as an entrepreneur if you're willing to go the extra mile and put in more than what you're getting out. Because think of it like this. You know, you all heard of karma. We've all heard of the biblical representation of planting a seed. You plant a seed and you grow a plant, right? So the seed has way more output than you put into it, but you've got to do the beginning work. And your job and your business can work the same way if you plan ahead. You've got to plan ahead. So don't go into business unless you're going to make money. Don't take that job unless you're going to make money. You've got to come away with just as much, if not more, than you're putting in. And then once you get acclimated, you can start to look at ways to improve that. How many hours a week? 4 hours a week for an entrepreneur, no less than 2 hours a week for an employee. I know there's a lot of constraints in there, but that's the first rule of business. Don't go into business unless you're going to make money. If you've got Pokemon cards, don't trade Pokemon cards for Pokemon cards that don't bring value to you. Like Stephen Covey in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, create a win-win situation. Win-win situation. I win and you win. If you always look for the win-win, then you'll never have to worry about whether or not someone walks away feeling like they obtained value. A good scenario is one that both parties can walk away comfortable with and happy with. And go into the negotiation table with a win-win mindset, whether it's your job or whether it's your clients or whether it's starting that business, is always going to produce a better outcome than thinking that someone has to lose in this thing and it better not be me, right? You can see how that mentality starts to get into competition. We're not competing here. We're not competing with our clients to prove to them that we're the best. If we offer something of value to them, then they're a great client for us. And your employer is your client. So again, don't go into business unless you're going to make money. That's just a quick recap. Today's rule is the next step of that. If your business helps people, then it's a good business. If your business helps people, then it's a good business. And let's take a step back from that too, because that's kind of challenging. And you guys might already be thinking about how that could be a challenge. Well, it's a challenge when you think about what contributions certain businesses bring to the market, both with jobs, opportunity, faith support, familial support, creating cultures of winning attitudes, but then perhaps their product is under question. Perhaps their product is under question. If your business helps people, then it's a good business. If your business helps people, then it's a good business. What does helping people look like? I suspect that those 90% that aren't in business after 5 years had a great idea on how to help people, but they didn't have the 3 rules of business. They didn't implement rules and ethics and standards to which they adhere, whether it's a profit margin or whether it's a core value. You've got to have boundaries. You've got to have restraints. You've got to know your market. And you've got to know who you're doing business with. So if your business helps people, then it's a good business. And, the first thing that comes to mind is cigarettes and alcohol, both legal, but they don't necessarily bring value to the human body. But on the other hand, those companies donate millions to various charities and nonprofits. Those companies create thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of jobs and lifestyles and standards of living for people. So it's always a question of, does this business violate your core values? Does this business violate your core values? Because again, the second rule of business is, if your business helps people, then it's a good business. If your business helps people, then it's a good business. Thinking about that, now we can see that perhaps those businesses don't violate their own core values. And here's why I say that's so important, because you think about how many faith-based organizations exist. Their values sometimes conflict with one another. Your values may conflict with someone else's values. But if your values that you to things to which you hold dear, rules, ethics, if you don't violate your values, then your business probably is a good business for you. And that's the key here. We got to think about what business and what value are we bringing to the market. Again, are drugs good or bad? Well, do we bring value? Do we bring healing? Used inappropriately, I think every business can be used negatively, and if there's some businesses out there, for example, I would say illegal drugs, then those are probably not good businesses to be in. If in order to operate those businesses, you have to break a bunch of laws or kill people, probably not a good business, right? And society has standards in place that say, hey, killing other humans is not a good idea. And there's consequences for that. And you can look at the laws and the constraints to which you operate, but always getting back to both your core values and the constraints that you're under. That will help you determine whether or not your business helps people, your business adheres to your core values, That way you can determine if your business is right for you. So once you've decided what your core values are, now you can decide how to operate your business. Once you've decided what your core values are, you can then decide how to operate your business. And operating the business with ethics and honor and integrity is the first step to longevity. Why? Because you're going to attract people to your business that bring value. They bring new ideas. They bring energy. They bring excitement. They bring other clients. They bring other employees. If you're creating a culture that is consistent with your values, then you will likely grow your business. And I always say in business, if you're not growing your market share, you're losing it, because you really cannot plateau and expect not to lose time. You have to stay on the growth mindset. The growth mindset. So if your business helps people, then it's a good business. You have to define what help is. You have to think deeply about that, because again, this is something that's going to come under question and under fire, whether it's a faith-based organization or not. Whether it's a faith-based organization or not, whether you think it's good or not, at some point it's going to come under question. And you have to know that you're operating with integrity. For example, in our construction companies, sometimes customers get frustrated by our policies. Well, that's okay. They have their right to an opinion. And they do not have to do business with us. And that's okay. We're not a good fit for every person. But as long as we're not violating our policies, our ethics, and our core values, then our business is a good business. And let's take a look. You know, I love the Bible, right? So I listen to the Bible. I like having it read. I like hearing it read to me, but I also like spending time in it every day. So I'm always going to bring in some kind of scripture. And the reason why I want to do that for you is because these are usually principles that make your business a good business. And it's very relevant today to hear what Isaiah 33:15 says. Isaiah 33:15, I'm going to read it right out of the New International Version. It says, "Those who walk righteously and speak what is right, who reject gain from extortion and keep their hands from accepting bribes, who stop their ears against plots of murder and shut their eyes against contemplating evil. They are the ones who will dwell on the heights, whose refuge will be the mountain fortress. Their bread will be supplied and water will not fail them." Boom. I get excited about that, because remember, 50% of businesses go out of business in 2 years, 90% in 5 years. But if you are whose refuge will be the mountain fortress, you probably will stay in business. You probably will make it. But again, we've got to know that if your business helps people, then it's a good business. We have to adhere to those standards that we hold dear. And you can't violate them, because your people are going to start to see that. If you violate your own ethics, then you're jeopardizing your reputation with the very people that make your business operate. And that's the reason why, if your business helps people, then it's a good business, because it starts with you and your ethics. Then that extends to the people who work for you. If you have good ethics and good rules and values, you're going to attract people to you that have those values and those ethics, and they're going to see your vision and they're going to agree with you, and they're going to be thankful they can work and be a part of a team. And then they are going to own that job description as if it's their business. And then you're really going to maximize the potential of the people that you have. And again, I'll hit a little plug here for the Intrepid Impact team. Our website's still under construction, but it is going to be intrepid-impact.com. Intrepid-impact.com. You can find us at almost all social media platforms right now. The words Intrepid Impact Team or Intrepid and Impact together, whether it's a dash, whether it's an underscore, you can find us there too. And Intrepid Impact Team does that very thing. We maximize the potential of people. We unlock the potential of people. Why? Because we help them follow the standards to which they decide that they should adhere. We amplify what's already there. And you can do that every day by implementing the rules and the standards that you hold dear, but also tuning in every week. 6:30 a.m. Monday mornings, ESPN Richmond Radio 106.1 to the Intrepid Impact Leadership Broadcast. This will give you nuggets of knowledge, will give you ideas and insights. And if you're like me and you're riding down the road right now listening to this, you might be daydreaming while I'm talking and thinking about that brand new idea. Well, I encourage you, put it down on paper. Put it down on something that you can keep, but put it as a note in your phone. In fact, the notes for this show were notes that I put in my phone a couple of years ago. This is the 3 rules of business that I taught my sons when they were trading Pokemon cards. The 3rd rule, we're going to cover that next week, but I just want to tell you real quick, it's be smarter than the crook and honest with good people. Be smarter than the crook and honest with good people. That's the 3rd rule of business. And again, ESPN Richmond Radio 106.1, just a recap for you that just tuned in. We're talking about the 3 rules of business. The first rule was don't go into business unless you're going to make money. The second rule is if your business helps people, then it's a good business. The 3rd rule of business is be smarter than the crook and honest with good people. Be smarter than the crook and honest with good people. And that's the reason why I like to bring up scripture, because in scripture, we tend to find rules of living in life that are universal. Now, I use the Bible, the Old and the New Testaments, but you might have your own faith. You might have your own preferred deity or some version of that. And you have principles in your faith belief that guide your decision making. The key there, folks, is adhering to those principles to which you hold dear. Don't compromise your values. If you're going into business to make money, which is why you should go into business, even if you're a nonprofit, you still got to generate revenue. You still got to have some way to operate your business, some way to meet the needs of others so that they can help you meet your needs as well. And I love bringing up scripture because that's the rules to which I adhere. Certainly not perfect in it, but it helps me make good decisions on a daily basis. And in our faith, and I believe this to be in your faith as well, our deity or our preferred God is Jesus. And he says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and prophets hang on these 2 commandments. So again, how does that relate to the second rule of business? Let's break that down. The second rule of business is if your business helps people, then it's a good business. If your business helps people, then it's a good business. So love your neighbor as yourself. Hey, at Intrepid Impact Team, we take that to the next level. We like to say, love your neighbor as they would like to be loved. I'm sure you've heard the golden rule, treat others as you'd want to be treated. Well, how about this? Let's treat others as they want to be treated. You need to do that with your clients for sure. Again, you might have heard me say in the past, don't love your product, love your client. Love your client. So once you have your business and you have a way of figuring out, hey, is this business going to help people? Is this business going to make money? Do I have the model set up? Do I have my expenses right? Do I have my revenue right? Do I have my profit margin right? If you have those things in place, then you can say, okay, how can I help my customer? How can I love my customer? What is going to make my client, my avatar, my target market, what is going to make them just bounce off the walls and really want to go and take action? Here's the cool thing. This is how you know. If they unprompted go on and do a 5-star review for you, unprompted by you, if they go on unprompted by you and leave a 5-star review, you know you've wowed them. Now, we have a system in place where we prompt the client to leave us a review because we definitely want that feedback. And we want to know how we can get better. So if you have that feedback loop, you'll know whether or not your business helps people. So you can see how scripture and faith is directly tied to business. Whether you adhere to the same principles that I do or not, your faith directly ties to your business because that determines the values to which you hold. So again, the second rule of business is if your business helps people, it's a good business. First rule of business is don't go into business unless you're going to make money. Have the plan in place. Doesn't mean you can't deviate. Doesn't mean you can't pivot. You certainly had to pivot in COVID if you're a small business owner. And if you're still here, you probably did a good job of that. Don't go into business unless you're going to make money. Be smarter than the crook and honest with good people. And next week, we're going to talk about the third rule of business. Be smarter than the crook and honest with good people. Remember, first rule of business, don't go into business unless you're going to make money. Second rule, if your business helps people, then it's a good business. And next week, be smarter than the crook and honest with good people. Well, Intrepid Impact listeners, again, we're here at ESPN Richmond Radio 106.1. Very excited to have you on here with me today. This is about the end of my time, but hey, more is coming. More is coming. Tune in next week for the third rule of business. Check us out on all social media handles. Like us, follow us, anything you can do to spread awareness for these solid business principles, these solid leadership guides that's out there is going to help us. It's going to help you. It's going to make sure that these things are widespread because our mission is to restore trust in leadership and business. To restore trust in leadership and business. I think that it's a well-known fact that there's a leadership gap in the world today, and the Intrepid Impact team seeks to fill it. Thanks again. I'll catch you next time on the Intrepid Impact Leadership Broadcast 106.1 ESPN Richmond Radio.